Alright, so hi, I'm going to just run through, I'm getting ready for the national seminar. I'm doing a couple of demonstrations there and I've got a lot of chocolate to mix and prepare. One of the bits that a lot of people miss with modelling chocolate is the actual kneading bit at the end. So all the videos that you watch online will show when you're mixing the chocolate, not to over mix it. My recipe's pretty much the same. It's shows, there's the cat. Anyway, my recipe shows like how to combine the chocolate, and of course you want to avoid working with chocolate that's too hot, otherwise it will split out. If it does split, it's not the end of the world. The key thing that you've got to worry about is not separating, not leaching the oil out of the chocolate. So a couple of the demos say that when you've kneaded the chocolate, if it starts to split and the oil runs out, then blot it out and keep kneading it and heating it and blotting out the oil. If you do that, you've created sugar paste, like a really nice sugar paste, but you've not made modelling chocolate. What makes modelling chocolate so good is the fat in there, and the modelling chocolate's fat is what gives it the strength and the ability to hold its shape. So, and I've got a very hungry cat who's running around here. One of the things that that's really good for is things like this orchid. So that'll hold its shape because of the fat in it, so the actual chocolate in it. And this one's come off a cake, so real life chocolate one being used. Nice thing about this is it tastes good and it looks good, and it goes together in about 15 minutes at the most. You can knock out maybe 12-15 of them in an hour. It's quite handy. Also going to be demonstrating that orchid and this lady at the National. Both of them are 45-minute demos, and they do go together that quickly. One of the other cool things, this is a little bit plasticky looking, but it's still kind of cool. Like having the fat in the chocolate means that it'll hold its shape really well, and you can do things like wings and have them all be fairly self-supported. I mean, this is made on a wire frame, but it's still quite a lot of weight for the wire to hold up, and that's just one of those cool things. So I'll start now. This is chocolate that I've made. It's my 4.5 to 1 ratio of compound chocolate to corn syrup, and I use the cream corn syrup. Again, I've got lots of videos of me making this. When it sets, or I set it in the freezer, it comes out rock solid. You can't bend it easily, and it's very brittle. This is actually one that I overmixed, and it still came together quite well. So what I'm going to do with that is put that in the microwave for maybe 15 seconds, and I'll knead it through. So I'll be back. So I've had that in there for probably closer to 20 seconds. It is still quite crumbly, but I picked up a little bit of black from playing with the dragon. Put that over there. So the important thing to do is break up all the big chunks and then knead it through. So just want to break it all up. And this is Calabo white compound chocolate. It tastes really good. It tastes nearly as good as the eating chocolate. Actually, I kind of prefer this to Cadbury, which is surprising for a compound chocolate, but white chocolate's not real chocolate anyway, so it's going to start kneading that through. Now the important thing here is not to rely too much on your strength and your body weight to do it. If the chocolate's too cold to knead, microwave it more. Otherwise you'll end up causing yourself an injury. So getting that, it's getting quite smooth, but there are still lumps in there. going to microwave that for a little bit more, and I'll actually overheat one and show you when it splits what it looks like. Now this is quite soft. There's still a few larger lumps in there, but it just means that I can spread it out against the bench. And any of these kind of little fatty lumps, you just pop with your fingertips. And I'll see if I've got any more. Sorry, I'm going a bit fast. So there's a fatty lump in there, so I just pop that with my thumbs and my fingertips and just work it through. And just smooth it against the table until there's no kind of lumps or any kind of gritty bits in there. And eventually the chocolate will go quite smooth. So that's how it looks when it's first made, and it's pretty kind of shiny and yellow. And when it starts to set up, hang on, find a bit that actually is shiny and yellow. So it's fairly shiny and firm. Once you've kneaded it through, the texture comes together much smoother, and it goes a little bit whiter as well. So you can use a whitening like gel paste to colour it up anyway, but if you start with a good white compound chocolate, you don't have to worry about that so much. It goes pretty light when you're colouring it, so that's really nice and smooth. There's still a couple of little lumps in there, but I've got that now. And that's perfect modelling chocolate. So I'll show what happens when you overheat it and how to rescue it. So I'll throw 2 bits through. The other one. It's at this point that I would usually start to colour them up as well. So now's a good time to add your gel colour. I'll do a little bit in a moment. So use my gel colours. But this is too soft to actually work with, so I'd need to leave that to sit for maybe 5-10 minutes to firm up. Spread it thin and it'll firm up faster. It's quite nice to work with. And here we have what looks like a nearly ruined bit. So you can see it's all gritty and all the fat's squeezing out of it. The way to fix that is just to grab, well, leave it alone is probably the easiest way, but I'm usually in a hurry, so it's at this point that I'd pack all that up, put it in the freezer bag and put it back in the freezer for a few minutes.
But you've added extra there, yeah?
Yep, but what I'm just doing now is squeezing that through, and I'll take some existing chocolate that I've made and just work that through, and it'll help to re-amalgamate that oil through. So I don't want to lose any of the oil from the bench. I want to make sure that I keep all of that oil, because if any of that fat is lost, I'll lose a lot of the structural integrity of my chocolate. So it's just a case of working it all back through, and it'll all come together nicely. It may take a couple of tries to pick up all the fat. I really cooked that one, so. But eventually it all comes together nicely again. So there's a couple of different methods there. You can just pack it all up, put it in a freezer bag, freeze it until it's nearly solid, and then work it through again, or freeze it until it is solid, and then you just knead it all through again, or grab a bit that's pretty much done. And this is one that I've made just a few minutes ago, and that's quite soft still. I mean, that'll set up as hard as the stuff that's come out of the freezer, just at room temperature. But I've picked up all of that fat from the table, and I've got quite a nice modelling chocolate now, even after absolutely roasting it in the microwave for a full 30 seconds with just a little bit. So, and that is partly to do with the Calabo is a really nice compound chocolate to work with. But you can do this with any chocolate. So if you don't want to go too oily or too fancy with a chocolate, like if you're doing this with something like a Lindt, you're going to have to really change the recipe up. Again, I make a really rock solid modelling chocolate because I like to make thin sheets of it so that I can do things like rose petals that are self-supporting, or dragon wings, or other kind of flowers that are all self-supporting. So for the orchid, there's no support in that at all. There's no support in the rose at all. All of those petals just hold themselves up because of the fat in the chocolate. It sets. Eventually this stuff does dry out and it goes quite brittle when it's cold. But the cool thing is you can hit it with a hairdryer or a blowtorch from a distance and it'll slowly warm up and you can just work it all through again. So that is the most important part of making modelling chocolate, is not to panic if you overheat it, and not to panic if you take it out of the fridge and it's all crumbly like that. So, I mean, that's what modelling chocolate looks like when it's first made, and that's the point where most people will start to panic. They go, okay, that's really solid, I can't move it, and it's all grainy. So all you have to do is just heat it up and knead it, and it all goes through nice. So just very quickly on colouring, I need quite a bit of green, so I'm going to grab all that. And let's watch me make a big mess here. So I'm not sure how much green I actually want, but I'll start with this and then I can start working the rest of it through anyway. I'll do 2 chunks. So again, this is probably slightly too warm still to actually construct something from. I'd usually let it firm up a little bit more and then it would be better for building stuff with. But it sets rock solid, so you do have to kind of knead it back or microwave it to get it going smooth. So that's a bit that's set up quite well. I'm just warming it in my hands and I'll be able to make something that would be self-supporting. So I'm making something like a, I don't know, like a, what would you call it, swan? I don't know. The other thing with this is that it's not stretchy at all. Some of the commercial stuff is quite stretchy, which is really nice, but the homemade stuff doesn't stretch. Well, my homemade stuff doesn't stretch. So if I'm making the swan, I can make that pretty self-supporting really quickly and then just backfill any bits that need backfilling. And you'd continue to work that out. And you can make quite delicate things without any kind of support at all. So, and I just work on building that out and neatening that up. So let that set up and go from there. That's sort of gives you an idea of how fast you can do self-supporting stuff. I mean, that's me just playing and being silly, but that's an idea of the sort of firmness that you're after. So I'm just going to colour this quickly. And what colour is that? That's my Maricola Mint Green. And this is going to make a big mess, so I'm just going to move some of this stuff out. Mint green, and I like to tone it down with some avocado and brighten it up again with some neon and a bit of neon. And these are just gel colours. The firmer chocolate can take quite a lot of colour without getting mushy or sloppy, so you can get really vibrant colours very quickly. Just knead that through. And the nice thing about working with a chocolate as well is your bench cleans down really easily afterwards, because it's got this nice protective coating of fat over it. It's also easier to get it off your hands. So, getting there. And you can see, having kneaded the chocolate nice and smooth to begin with, means that I don't have any little white lumps or any grainy bits in there, and the colour goes through it really nicely. I think that's pretty close to the colour that I wanted. That's cool. I think I'd like a bit more forest grain through that, but just goes to show how fast you can get colour into your chocolate and get something that's really nice to work with very, very quick. You will still get a couple of the little lumps, but you just find them and pop them out and knead them through, like that one there. So you get a couple of them, but I mean, even in commercial product, you'll get stuff like that. So, but yeah, that's pretty much it. All done, ready to go. I just put that off to one side for 10 minutes and then it'll firm up and be ready to go. So, yeah, if you're pretty sure that all the spots are booked out, but keep an eye out. Maybe look at joining one of your local cake decorators associations. There are clubs all over the country, and they're a really good place to go and learn stuff like this. The national seminars are a pretty good thing that they do as well. And I'm a bit out of breath just because I've been talking and kneading at the same time. So anyway, yeah, modelling chocolate, if you're interested, robertscakesandcooking.com. The modelling chocolate recipe is on the homepage. And this is the most important part that everyone forgets, and that's actually kneading it smooth so you can use it. Thank you.